Here we go. All right. Welcome. So we are doing a live today. A lot of you have sent in a bunch of questions about the holidays. So, how do you homeschool during the holidays? Well, there are certain ways you can look at this. You can just keep doing things like you normally do, and you can keep doing your formal lessons. But in my experience, there's just so much stress already built in the holiday season that it's probably better and easier and more productive if you do less, right? Okay, so to answer the first question, one of the moms wanted to know, do you do school during the holidays? So I'm going to lump, starting with Thanksgiving all the way through Christmas, so as our holidays. So first of all, yes and no, but more no. So Thanksgiving week is usually the week that we put all of our books away. We don't do any formal lessons Thanksgiving week because we just have so much going on. And part of our family tradition for many years is that we're not even here in our home the week of Thanksgiving. We're usually somewhere else, either visiting family or spending it in Palm Springs with extended family. So we put away all the books, the formal lessons, the week of Thanksgiving. So what do we do instead? Well, all of the things that you are normally doing to prepare for your Thanksgiving, your errands, your grocery shopping, your prepping, your cooking, your cleaning, all that kind of stuff can be part of your lessons. All right. So just look at it as you're doing lots of cooking. Well, that's a lot of science. That's a lot of measuring. That's a lot of math. That's a lot of reading if the kids are helping you read the recipe cards. All right. So I often tell moms, just put the books away the week of Thanksgiving, do what you normally do, and continue to read aloud and to continue to do your devotions. So if you read aloud every day, and I often suggest to moms that this is the perfect time of the year to get those great picture books that talk about the true meaning of Thanksgiving and the holiday and how it started, and even some of the biblical roots of it. There's so many great picture books out there that you can read about the Mayflower and the Pilgrims and the first Thanksgiving feast and some other really great books that if you are a subscriber of my website, coffeewithcarrie.org, you got my latest blog today, which was having an attitude of gratitude. And I talk about some of the things that you can do during the week of Thanksgiving that aren't your typical formal lessons. And I also give an extensive book list of different picture books that you can read during the week of Thanksgiving. So don't worry about doing formal reading lessons. Don't worry about doing formal spelling lessons. Take out a bunch of really great picture books and read those. Do some devotionals during the week. This coming Thursday's Coffee with Carrie podcast episode is called, I think it's called Attitude of Gratitude, activities that you can do during Thanksgiving week. And I go into even more detail about some of the different devotions that you can do where each day of the week you are focusing on something different, like contentment, gratitude, thankfulness, things like that. Okay, so read your Bible, do some read alouds, and then do what you normally do. And don't worry, the kids are getting tons of real life science, math, and things like that involved. Okay. Also, another thing that I always had my kids do during the week of Thanksgiving was we always wrote what I called thanks for giving cards. And so I would have the kids brainstorm 5 to 10 people in their lives that they were just really thankful for. And they would sit down. When they were younger, they just drew cards for them. But when they were older, they would actually write thank you cards for each of these different people. And they would that would be their writing, right? And we would make sure that those special people got their thank you cards. We also spent the week of Thanksgiving doing something. We served in some way. We volunteered our time in some way as a family. Even when the kids were little, there was a place right here where we live. It was a food bank. And so we couldn't be there on the days that they gave out the foods. but we could go during the week and help sort the veggies and unpack the cans. And it's very hands-on. And so the kids were able to serve in that way. And then when they were older, then they were allowed to actually be there on the days that they handed these foods out and these and serve the people in their community. So we often did some sort of service as a family as well. Okay. So that's what you can do during the week of Thanksgiving. Just do what you normally do and don't feel guilty about it, because just know that the kids are doing lots and lots of academic work without actually opening up one book. Okay. All right. So another question came in, someone who listens to my podcast and read my book, Just Breathe. And they still, I still get this question. Do you really take the whole month of December off? The answer to that is yes. Yes, we really did take the entire month of December off. The couple of years that we didn't, when we were first homeschooling, I gotta say, we weren't as joyful in our home, preparing for Christmas and the holidays, because I just felt like there were so many more things we had to do, because we had our normal stuff, plus I was the teacher. And so I felt like we had to do formal school. And so I definitely took the entire month off one year, and we never looked back. And so basically, the first week of December is when we would finish up whatever we were doing, and we would put all the books away, put them back on the shelf. And again, just like the week of Thanksgiving, we used our normal traditions and errands and all that kind of stuff that we normally do in December to prepare for Christmas as most of our quote unquote lessons. Okay. So like, for instance, we always did an Advent calendar and an Advent wreath. And so every morning for our devotions, we would read a portion of the Christmas story. So by the time we got to December 24th, we had read the entire story. And so that's how we got through it when my kids were younger. We have so many Christmas picture books that every year I would take out about 20 of my favorites, and then I would go buy about 4 new ones. And so that's why we had such an extensive library there for our Christmas books. And I would wrap each one and put a number on them, 1 through 24. And that's, for some years, was our Advent calendar. And so the kids, or our countdown, right? So the kids would go and take number 1, and we would unwrap it, and that would be the picture book, the Christmas picture book that we read that particular day, and we would talk about it. Some of the books were just super fun Christmas books, and some books had to do with the true meaning of Christmas. So that was some of the things we did. We always read aloud. We always did our devotions. I always, speaking of reading aloud, one of my favorite books to read during the month of December, and it never gets old, is a book called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. It's super short. It's super cute. It has a powerful message. Your kids are going to love it. And one year my kids were even able to perform it locally in our community. So that was a lot of fun. So definitely read aloud, a picture book of some kind. If your kids are older, like I said, I suggest The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. When the kids were older, we read A Christmas Carol, and we talked about all of that in Dickens. And so that's just something that you can also do without actually doing formal lessons. In December, we also took the time to just play more games. So I made sure that on those days that we didn't have an awful lot going on with our errands or preparing or cleaning and stuff like that, we just pulled out the games, and we played tons and tons of fun games, and some games that were educational, but the kids didn't realize they were still doing school. And so we caught up on our game playing in December. And of course, the kids did an awful lot of art and creating, because every year the kids made most of our presents and gifts for family and friends. And so I just made sure in the month of December, we had lots of art materials so that they could be creative, and they wrapped their own presents, and I taught them how to make bows. And so just lots of creativity during the month of December. There's your art. Right? Listen to Messiah in the background all month long, and you've got some great classical music that your kids are learning, and they don't even realize it. Okay. All right. Another one that I wanted that another one asked me, she said, "What is Christmas schooling?" Okay, that's a new term in the homeschooling community, but it basically refers to anything that you do that's kind of formal during the month of December that has to do with Christmas. So it's basically doing a Christmas unit study. So instead of doing your normal formal lessons, you're still doing schoolwork of some kind, but it's basically a unit revolving around the holiday of Christmas. Okay, so one of the fun things that we've done in the past, as far as like Christmas schooling goes, is we concentrated one year in particular on different Christmas carols. So there's Christmas songs like "Rocking Around the Christmas Tree," which are just Christmas songs, and then you have Christmas carols, which are actually hymns. They're church hymns that we sing during the Christmas season. And so we would this one particular year, we focused every other day on a different Christmas carol. And so we learned it. I would print up the lyrics and the words for it, and that was our reading because the kids had to follow along. We listened to it. We learned about the composer or the history behind the Christmas carol, and of course, we sang it. We sang it. We sang it. We sang it a lot. So actually, in 2 weeks, I think it is, Coffee with Carrie Homeschool podcast, there's an episode called Christmas Schooling, which I talk about how that one particular year we focused our entire December on learning different Christmas carols and the meaning behind them and the history behind them. And then of course we went Christmas caroling with our AHG troop. So lots of fun. Another way to do Christmas schooling, and there's so many great unit studies out there. I know Peaceful Press has a really great one called Christmas Gathering, and Gather Around has another one. I think it's called Celebrate Christmas Around the World. But there are just tons of them out there that you can get from different publishers and things like that if you need something written down. Okay. But basically, for many years, what we did during the month of December for our Christmas schooling was we learned about how Christmas was celebrated around the world. So every day or every couple of days, we would focus on a particular country and we would learn about how Christmas is celebrated in that country, some particular traditions that they have in that country. We would learn about their flag. We would learn about their language. We would learn how to say Merry Christmas in that country's language. And then on particular days, so like on December 6th, which is St. Nick's Day, we would focus mostly on Greece and how Greece celebrates Christmas and St. Nick's Day, because that's where St. Nicholas came from. And then on December 13th is St. Lucia Day. And so we would focus on that particular day on December 13th and learn about Sweden and Finland and Norway and the Scandinavian countries and how they celebrate Christmas and St. Lucia Day in particular. We would also, during December 13th through the 24th, we would learn about one of those days. We wouldn't do it the whole time. We would learn about how Mexico celebrates the Las Posadas. And a couple of years, we were able to actually participate in one. And so we knew some friends that did it on their street. And so we would go from house to house each night. So that was a lot of fun. On, Italy, because we're Italian. So we learned a lot about Italian traditions, the Feast of the Fishes and things like that. But when I collect nativities. And so one of the first things I do is I pull out all of the nativities, and I want to make sure that Christ, Jesus's birth is the center. And so that's actually an Italian tradition, is they're the ones that began the creche or the nativity scene, St. Francis. And so that's one way you could bring Italy in. When you do your gingerbread houses or when you decorate your Christmas tree, you can talk about how Germany celebrates Christmas, because those are German traditions that were first started in Germany. Of course, you can learn about Hanukkah. And then France, they're the ones that came up with the Yule log. So if you want to actually make a Yule log or get one and just enjoy one, that would be fun. Russia, we always read our picture book, The Story of Babushka, and we learn about her. And then we would learn about how Christmas is celebrated in Great Britain, with Christmas caroling and with Boxing Day the day after and things like that. So when it comes to Christmas schooling, it doesn't have to be anything in particular. It's just a term that a lot of people use for not so formal lessons that they do during the week, during the month of December, with the focus of Christmas and baby Jesus. So that's Christmas schooling. All right. So Jennifer has a question. Let's see, my question is specific, but about leaving a charter school and the benefits of an IEP. Can those needs be met outside the public school? Because I'm ready to leave the charter. Okay, I have a feeling, Jennifer. Yes, you are from California. Okay, so here's the deal. Yes, you can leave your charter school. The services will be a little bit more difficult to get or to receive because it won't be an IEP at that point. You change it over into, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically an IEP, but it just has different terminology to it. And the public school district, your public school district that you belong to, may or may not give the services. Okay, so you just have to check with them first. So when you leave the charter school, a lot of times mamas have to find their own services and of course pay for them out of pocket. However, depending on what the special needs are, sometimes they are covered or partially covered by your health insurance. So that's something you can look at as well. And then if you have something that is very specific in the IEP and that you really need those services done because you can't afford it and you really need the public school district to honor that for you, which they may not, definitely contact Homeschool Legal Defense Association and talk with someone there about the proper way and the wording and assistance as you contact your public school district and find out if or how or when they will honor your child's IEP. Okay. But depending on what the special needs is, so if it has to do with physical therapy, if it has to do with occupational therapy, those kinds of things usually don't transfer and you wind up having to pay for those things out of pocket. Okay. If it is some other service or accommodation, because maybe your child has dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, they have some other milder learning challenges, then the accommodations that were being made through your public school, your charter school, you can easily do that still at home without any extra assistance. Okay. So if you want, go ahead and email me at coffeewithcarriehomeschool@gmail.com with some of your specifics and the charter school that you are with. And I will be able to help you a little bit more specifically. Okay, Jennifer, I hope that helps. All right. So thank you, you guys, for hanging out with me today. And hopefully I answered your questions about holiday homeschooling and Christmas schooling and your questions about charter schools and IEP. And stay tuned because we're going to have another live in December. You guys have a great evening.